welcome to MINKA Vision. This is the space where we chat with our MINKA practitioners about their spiritual practice and their journey. Today, my guests are Sunder, Ashni and Jordan Pagán. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Tricia.
This is so fun. Cool. So I'm really excited to speak with you both because you're collaborating on a new offering, Keys to Consciousness, which is a 6-week tarot immersion course. I wanted to ask you both, what led you to tarot?
Wow. Well, I was thinking about this before we got on today, and I believe my first tarot deck was a gift to me. It was a birthday gift, and it came with a book. And I remember it being like this sort of very generic, like the images were just, things that I'd never seen before. So I went through this book, and when I first started to work with the tarot, what I would do is I would put a card under my pillow each night and like dream with it. Because at that time I had read, like, if you want to like receive wisdom and information subconsciously, you can like sleep with the books underneath your pillow, and your subconscious will download all the information. And so that was my first introduction to tarot. And I think that was maybe even over like about 10 or 11 years ago, maybe even longer.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Jordan, what was how did tarot find you?
Yeah, it definitely found me. So the first tarot deck that I ever saw was about 11 years ago. My friend was like playing with it, and it really sparked something really deep inside me where I connected to the images, but I was also very intimidated, and I was like, oh, I can't touch that right now. Like, when you're like really drawn to something so much that it scares you a little bit. And then several years later, so this would be 7 years ago now, I was working with my teacher, and she casually mentioned that during the session, because it was a phone session, that she had been pulling a couple of tarot cards as clarifying cards to help her with the session and our work. And she mentioned that the 8 of Swords came up. And I was like, what's that? And it was just very much like a light bulb went off in my head. And I realized that, yes, I knew that tarot was available for readings and guidance, but I didn't know like there were so many other ways in which you could use the deck. And it just seemed like this doorway into a world of answers and knowledge and like an encyclopedia, and I wanted in. And my teacher encouraged me to get a deck, and so I got a deck. I started practicing and reading. It took me a good like year and a half to feel like I really understood it, and it's a continuing relationship that I will always be diving into and working with and building. And yeah, it's just such a way of being seen. And to this day, 8 of Swords is one of my favorite cards because of that. And so, yeah, very much in a nutshell, that's how I got drawn to this.
That's so beautiful. And I resonate with feeling intimidated by tarot. I think my introduction to tarot was maybe YouTube. Like I've heard of tarot, but I'd never like experienced a reading or anything like that. So just in watching other people read cards, and I was sort of intrigued. I'm like, wow, what is this all about? Like, this is a really good, like all these messages resonated with me. I think I could probably do this for myself. So I think I went to Catland actually, and I got my first tarot deck. And of course at MINKA, we have all the decks that you can, experiment with and spend time with. And that's how slowly I built my confidence to try to do it for myself. What are some misconceptions that come up with reading tarot for yourself or for others?
Where to begin? So, I mean, I'll just touch on a couple. first of all, you know, I grew up in a very repressive Christian religion, which taught like playing cards were the devil. So there was definitely all of that. And the tarot can still bring up a lot of fear in people, even though they may be really interested. They're like, what are the cards going to say? Like, is something bad going to happen to me? But I think the biggest misconception now, as a professional reader for many years, is, yeah, the tarot will tell me my future. And like, yes, it can predict outcomes, but the tarot is a mirror. It reflects everything that's going on in your life and predict outcomes, but we have free will. We can always make different choices if we don't like what that outcome is saying. So yeah, it's like fortune telling. Yeah.
I would say, thank you, Jordan. I would say also is like, in addition to like the predicting of the future, it's like that the tarot cards, like Jordan was saying, like the superstition around it, that it's like this all powerful force that has the power to like change, you know, or direct or determine something. And I would say usually when I talk with people who have never got a tarot reading before, I say that I look into the present. So for me, tarot is a way to dive into and perceive the hidden, unconscious, or maybe subtle messages that are present to us all the time. And so when I'm looking at a card, all of the colors, the shapes, the images that are on the card are symbolic of aspects of our life, and we can translate them in that way. But like Jordan was saying, it's not the end all be all, because we have free will and we are in conscious co-creation with existence all the time. So when we work with tarot, we are acknowledging that we are the co-creators of our universe. And the way that we share it is that it's a tool that we can use to consciously co-create with the universe. So it's the conception that tarot, they just tell you and that's just it, I think is sort of a misconception in the way that I read. And that's not to say that other people have different things and they predict and they do things in other ways. But the way that I read tarot, it's really about really bringing ourselves into the present and being able to read and understand the subtle intelligence that exists within the universe through symbol and through color and through connecting to the collective consciousness.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And I feel like, I feel like that speaks to what you were saying about how you began to dream with the cards, because a lot of like what shows up in our dreams, you know, we don't take them literally, and they serve as often as messages. I remember one time, very early on in my working with tarot, I had a tower card dream where literally like the building next to my building was on fire and there was billowing smoke coming out, and there were like bodies lying on the pavement like in Brooklyn, and I woke up feeling really, really scared, just like, oh no, something's gonna happen. And then I realized like, oh wait, that was a symbol. You know, like something is, you know, showing up in my subconscious to let me know that, you know, there's a new idea present, you know, something that I didn't see before because there was, you know, some fog or something like that. Sorry, Jordan, did you want to add to that?
Oh yeah, I really resonate with what Ashni was saying about the present moment, because that's really what it's all about, right? Like all we have is this present moment, and yes, sometimes the cards can, and there are definitely spreads that have placements with like past positions, but you know, we can choose if we want to carry that forward with us as a foundation, or if we want to let it go. And a lot of times people are like, tell me what I don't know. Tell me what I need to do. I already know all of this. Like, this is what's happening right now. But sometimes we need to see something reflected back to us to validate what we've been feeling, what we've been experiencing by somebody who is impartial, who is, you know, detached and removed from the situation, objective. And I really, through reframing time and the concept of that, I've been able to use the tarot and the specific layouts like as a map. Like, okay, you were here, you're here now, and this is where you want to go, and this is how you get there. So yeah, there's just like so many elements and components of tarot. It's just so fun to talk about and geek out on.
Yeah, hence why you're doing a 6-week series.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, like, I know that you both have collaborated before along with Baba for Roots of Our Practice, which is a lovely offering that you do. But why keys of consciousness, and why now?
Well, we actually, this is our second time doing this, and we got a lot of amazing input. And then actually, while we were doing the first run of it, we got like just a lot of feedback of how much and how rich the content was. And so we wanted to offer this again. And why now? I feel like people are waking up to the reality that we really are co-creators. I feel like there are people who like know that, or maybe even people who conceptually like feel that. But I feel like we're at a moment in our evolution as, you know, humans and co-inhabitants of this earth, where we're realizing the effects that we have on each other and how our actions, our relationships, and the relationships that exist within our society and culture influence each other. And so tarot really speaks to and reflects the wisdom of this archetypal energy. And we have lots of archetypes within our culture. You know, we have the celebrity, we have the warrior, we have the healer, we have the king, we have, you know, the queen,
The martyr.
Yes, the martyr, the ruler, the fool. You know, so I think as we really start to see within our like cultural, social, societal sphere, these really clear archetypes, like we can see them, like, oh, that's really like this hierophant, you know, this person that thinks they know better than everybody else. The morals are here. These are the rules. Even if those rules and that structure is detrimental to our society. So I feel like why now is we are awakening to archetypes within our society and moving to maybe shift our relationships to these archetypes. And so why keys of consciousness? It's like it's opening the door. It's like as we use tarot, as we connect to this intellectual, this not intellectual, but this knowledge that exists within the universe through archetypes, through symbols, patterns, and color. Once we understand those tools and realize that these tools are here for us to use and shape our reality, then we can consciously create something new and different that is based on maybe a different set of archetypal energies. You know, I feel like there are also new archetypes that are emerging. But yeah, I will say that much. That's kind of why I feel the importance of it at this moment.
For sure. And also, the world has always been a very confusing place, but especially now, there's so much shifting, so much in process, so much being undone. It can really be so easy. And I feel this way all the time. Like, what do I do? Like what's real, what's not real? Like, I just need some like support and guidance. And so I do believe that, you know, our higher self, spirit, the universe, whatever you resonate with is speaking to us through the cards, whether you're reading for yourself or reading for others, to give us that guidance, that reflection, and that comfort of being seen and known and supported. So yeah, I wanted to start reading cards because I wanted to know what to do or how to live my life in the best way for me. And archetypes are such a powerful way of understanding, and there's so much storytelling that also goes into the tarot, and that's how humans learn. That's how they understand themselves in the world. And so yeah, it's really a powerful tool of guidance and intuition and reflection. And so in this course, the first part of it is learning how to read for yourself, because I personally fully believe that no matter what modality that you are learning, it should be for you and your own support and edification and growth. And then if you want to feel, or if you want to share that with others, we'll also share our best practices and tips and tricks with that as well, because this is a work that is for everyone and it's meant to be shared. And so why now? The time is always right? But especially now.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that because I feel like we are, as a society, as a people, as individuals, moving from the head space and more into the heart space. And so much of tarot is about, intuition. Can you talk a little bit about how readers or how working with the tarot balances that
with intuition?
Yeah, intuition, but also like you're learning symbols and things like that, which are very like I don't know. There's like knowledge and learning that comes with that. So
I mean, like Jordan was saying before, or you were saying before, when you had that dream about the building, it's like, yes, the tarot has a certain set of archetypes and symbols that are there, right? But we also, in our collective subconscious, have a set of symbols that we have learned, so like that dream that you had about the building and the smoke and the bodies in Brooklyn, that was really specific to you. And so these archetypes, again, we have a personal relationship with them. And this again goes back to like when I was dreaming with the symbol. It's not enough to just learn, or at least maybe it is enough for some people, but I feel like what we are sharing in our course is how to develop this relationship with these symbols, and also understanding what the symbols are. Like Jordan was saying, doing it for ourselves, getting to know ourselves through the tarot as a key to our own inner consciousness and subconscious. And once we understand how the symbols and these archetypes, how we relate to them internally, we then we have that relationship, and that creates a trust for ourselves in terms of using our intuition to then share with others. And I would say like intuition for me is just that, like that gut knowing. It's something that it's this capacity to really deeply trust and understand myself, and know the symbols and know the patterns and know all of the things that have comprised my experience. So when I see it outside, or when that card shows up for someone, when I'm in a reading, I have an understanding, I have an understanding of what that really means for me. And because that person is coming into my field and they're coming to me for a reading specifically, they are actually coming to receive my understanding and interpretation of the symbols and the archetypes. Like all of it, there's no coincidence or accident. When people come to certain people for a reading, or you have a relationship with a reader or a Reiki practitioner or a massage therapist, you're actually also receiving the information from their energetic field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say it's intuition that is in our subconscious, right? And so many of us were trained growing up that we should not trust ourselves or listen to ourselves or hear ourselves, all that. Like that's a whole subject for another day. And so this is a key into the subconscious, key into our intuition, because everything works through like the law of attraction. Like what is meant for you will find you. Like Ashni was saying, like the reader meant for you will come apparent when it's the right time. And so whether you're reading for yourself or someone is reading for you, the right cards will always show up for your greatest expansion, confirming and validating the things that you were feeling and knowing and feeling into, and also reflecting back to you all of the energies, all of the patterns and dynamics, some of which you may be aware, some of not, that are, you know, keeping you where you are, and what you may, and once you have a conscious understanding of that, then you can make conscious choices to change, or, you know, do something else if that's what you want, or like lean into those energies more if it's something that you want to call in. And so for readings, right, like theoretically we don't need any tools. We can rely on spirit, we can rely on our intuition, but this is a tool, it's an aid, it's a visual representation of what's going on, and as humans we just need that. And, you know, humans have been using whatever's been around them for centuries to divine what's going on. Ash, stone, coffee, tea leaves, you know, and I love that, like, human ancient component, like we've always done this. And so now we have this very beautiful resource, a language and a world to understand ourselves even better.
Yeah, and it's like, I love that. Like, we just used whatever we had because it gave us the permission to observe ourselves, observe the world around us, and observe our relationships to it. And so reading, like, you know, even coffee grounds, it's like, it's like this really this real deep, like, sweet invitation to be present in a certain way. And I agree wholeheartedly with Jordan, is that we don't need anything, but somehow, because we're in this physical dimension, because we are in this body, having like an actual card, like an anchor, helps us to tap into the field of the person that is receiving our session, meaning they understand these symbols. Their subconscious understands the symbols. If I pull the card like Empress, and you see that, you can feel that. There's like, you can understand that, versus, and it's a way that you can, again, develop the relationship, and the person who is receiving a reading from you can then receive that information more deeply. Versus if you're just saying it, of course, there will be truth in that, but it might be even more challenging for them to really take, because there's no concrete physical. But when you show them the actual card, it's like, here it is. You can see it for yourself. It's not just in my imagination. It's down here.
Becomes real and tangible. And I always recommend that people take photos of their readings and refer back to that and study and just feel into that. And, you know, you'll know when it's time to get a new reading, but this is meant to be lived with and worked with.
I love that.
Yeah, because the tarot has a way of coming, the tarot has a way of coming to life. And like, when that happens, it is just like the most magical thing. And we'll talk about how that happens in the class, but it really does come to life. And all of a sudden you'd be like, oh my gosh, like that's what that card was saying to me. I get it now. It's exciting. I
love that. And so with that said, are there any cards that are speaking to you now, like personally in your own journey?
I would say, you said the card earlier, it's like the Tower card. But what I'm connecting that to is there's, in another deck that they have, it's more like a Phoenix energy. I feel like the Tower, in terms of like, there's so much happening. It's like the house, like the structures, all of the things that I thought, like they're sort of being broken down a little bit, and not in a bad way. So that's why I like the Phoenix. It's like, it's being illuminated. And so I see like that light, the fire that is lighting up the structures. It's illuminating the structures. It's illuminating the patterns. So I feel like the Tower card, for me, is always like a card of illumination. That it shines light on something. And so once we are aware of it, like my teacher Star says, if you can feel it, you can heal it. And if you can see it, you can heal it. And So I feel like that illuminating, and then from like the rubble, from the ashes, I feel like there's like, I'm really connecting to something new being reborn. And I can feel that for myself. And it's like, I don't necessarily think that, you know, when that card comes up, that it's like needs to be like such a huge thing. For me at this moment, it kind of feels like very subtle, like becoming aware of like the subtle patterns, like subtle ways that my conditioning has still showed up for me, and that I'm really ready to rise up from. So that's the card that I'm feeling.
That's
beautiful. And I love that, you know, with the tower card, like it can represent a shift in consciousness. It doesn't have to be like everything is crashing down, you know, and that in and of itself can be really devastating sometimes. But, and I have been feel like as a collective, we've been in this tower moment for a while, several years now, right? Like so much is coming down, blah, blah, blah. But the card that I am really resonating with right now is the star, because the star is what directly follows the tower in the major arcana. And the star is this beautiful card of hope and healing and renewal. And we need that, you know, like this is an opportunity for healing, and we need to hold on to hope. The stars are always there. We may not be able to see them, but we know that they're there. And the stars, they guide us. The sailors use them to navigate. Astronauts use the stars to navigate, actually, in Apollo 13 or something. But like, I'm really feeling that, because as hard as this is, like, we can use this to be reborn many, many times. And that does require some recovery and deep softness and hope and self-care. And so I'm really leaning into that. And also, this is just such a beautiful card. I'm like, I stare at it a lot. And for those who are wondering, this particular deck is Morgan Greer.
Thank you much for sharing that. Now that I see your card, and I just want to ask, would either of you or both of you like to pull a card for the collective now? Or
I pulled all. I was pulling.
So you already came prepared.
Yes, I did. So I have the deck that I'm connecting with right now that I brought is the Tao Oracle. And it's a beautiful deck. And it's a 64 card deck. So it's not a traditional deck. And then it also uses like the I Ching. So we're not going to do the whole I Ching part. But the card that I pulled, I pulled 3 cards. The first card is the approach. And so I think it's really interesting that, you know, like the code for our Zoom was the door. And so it's kind of like this open door, and you see the red carpet. So it's like this warmth, there's flowers. It's like this sense of being welcomed. And so it's like there's a door open, and there's no actual human figures in this one, but it's just like this opening and this expansion. And this says a warm perception, lightening up hopefulness. Yeah. And I'm looking at like the stone too, which speaks again to these structures sort of opening up. And even though this is like a stone hard building, it feels like just open and different than like just like a normal house. If you would see a house, there's something that's very inviting. And so I feel like something opening up, a warm reception. And then I got this card, which is the Well. And this card is about diving deep, and you see the figure is naked. And so it's about like releasing and shedding like layers, shedding our clothing, shedding, you know, maybe the masks of who we thought that we were, and diving deep into the well. And then the last card that I pulled is family. And so I feel like, you know, it's all about like this opening to dive deep into our relationships with ourselves and each other. We can see the different aspects of different ages, different types, all different kinds of folks that make up our family. So I feel like this is all about community and like opening the door to really dive deep and look into the conditions and things that keep us away from our community, and also looking at the things that really bring us together into our communities.
That's so perfect. Wow.
And I just pulled one card from the same deck, and I'm using the traditional tarot. But I just think it's so cool and magical. Like sometimes when we do collective readings or we use a tarot card in an oracle deck, like the messages always like fit together so perfectly. And especially like, so this is the 8 of Cups, right? And I was getting a lot of similar imagery from the first card that you pulled, Ashni, just visually, you know, with like the 2 pillars and the red. So the 8 of Cups is ruled by the element of water. You know, water has to do with intuition and emotions, relationships, connections. And this card speaks of moving on. And cups represent like our hopes and our dreams and our wishes. And this figure has had the strength and the awareness to realize that these cups, these hopes, dreams, and wishes no longer serve them on the path. They no longer resonate with them. And they have the strength to leave them behind and go on a spiritual journey to find new, better cups. And so this is about moving on, going on a new emotional journey, receiving new spiritual information. Really, it's a portal, it's a pathway to receive something new and go into the unknown, right? Which is what we are always doing as a collective, but especially now. And it takes a lot of fortitude and bravery to do that. And so, moving on, finding new cups, finding greener pastures, and being ready to, making space to receive new cups. Because if he was still, this figure was still carrying all these cups, he couldn't really hold on to any more. And so, yeah, I think this is a beautiful thing that we can step into always. And I love this card so much.
Beautiful.
That is so beautiful. Thank you both so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom and insight. How can folks find you and how can folks sign up for the tarot immersion?
Well, our tarot class is on the website on minkabrooklyn.com/calendar. And so you have the option of signing up for any class, dropping into any class that speaks to you and calls your interest. If you want to sign up for the whole 6 weeks, you get a discount and you can do that. And then until August 15th, we have a special early bird rate. So there are a lot of different ways, all of which are listed on the website. And also this course is very overreaching. And so like the first part of the course is for beginners. And then the latter part of the course is for those with intermediate or advanced knowledge who really want to get into all of the symbolism and codes and keys of the tarot.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Tricia, so much for having us. This has been really sweet and grounding on this Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say we're also, Jordan and I are both practitioners at MINKA. So if you want to find out about our services, you can go on minkabrooklyn.com. My Instagram is Ashni Living the Dream, Ashni Living the Dream. And my personal website is sunderashni.com, just SUNDERASHNI.com.
Oh yeah, and my Instagram is @ostara.apothecary. And then my website's there, email's there too. And so, yeah, please reach out. And we hope to see you in the class. It's going to be really fun. It always is.
Beautiful. Thank you all so much for watching and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.